Hi, welcome to my video on the properties of zero. A fraction is defined as a over b, where a and b belong to the natural numbers. We use that throughout these videos on fractions. Now let's define a fraction for the set of whole numbers w. The whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, ... Notice we have a 0 now. So if we define it as a over b, where a and b belongs to the whole numbers, we have to say that b cannot be equal to 0. Because we note b cannot be 0, dividing by 0 cannot be done. Let's check our calculator. We turn on the calculator and do 4 divided by 0. Notice we get divide by 0 is an error. Okay. Divide by 0 is an error. So in math, we say dividing a fraction or a number by 0, we say one way, does not exist. Could be one way to say it. We could say is not defined. We could say is undefined. Or, as I say, dividing by 0 is a no. I call it a no-no, just as another way of saying it. But division by 0 is a no-no, undefined. Can't do it. Let's continue. Let's look at some of the properties of 0. A over b is a fraction where a and b belong to the whole numbers and b is not 0. Remember, b is not 0 because you can't divide by 0. Addition of 0. So if we take 1, if we take a half and add 0, we get a half. If we take 4 over 7 and add 0, we get 4 over 7. 0 add on 1/6 is 1/6. 0 add on 1 1/3 is 1 1/3. So the addition of 0, if a over b is our fraction and we add 0, then we'll get the fraction. Or if we take 0 and add on a over b, then we'll get a over b. That's what this 0 is, the identity element in it in addition. So we add any number to 0, we'll get that number. Subtraction of 0. 2/9 subtract 0 is 2/9. 10 over 11 subtract 0 is 10 over 11. So subtraction of 0, a over b minus 0 is a over b. And 0, if we reverse it, we'll get a negative. So we can't reverse fraction. We can't reverse subtraction, commutative property, because in subtraction, when you change it around, you're going to get the opposite sign. So it won't work with subtracting by 0. Addition is commutative. You can switch the 0 and a fraction around in addition, and you'll get the same answer, but not in subtraction. 0 divided by a natural number, 0 over b, is 0. 0 divided by a whole number, 0 over b is 0. So notice in the top one, oops, my mistake, it's a b. Oh, my mistake, I'm just thinking wrong now. 0 and 0. In the top one, we don't have to worry about division by 0 because it's a natural number. In the bottom one, we know that b cannot be 0. So 0 over b is 0 only if b is not 0. 0 divided by 4 is 0. 0 divided by 6 is 0. Let's just check with the calculator for a second and see what we get. Let's clear this. So 0 divided by 4. Oops. 0 division 4 gives you a 0. Just checking with the calculator just to make sure. Subtraction of equal fractions. In other words, if we take a over b and subtract a over b, we get 0. If you look at that, when we subtract, it's a minus A over B. So A minus A is 0 over B, and 0 over B is 0. So that's another way to prove this. So 1/2 subtract 1/2 is 0. 4 over 7 subtract 4 over 7 is 0, because you're subtracting equal amounts. 0 products. 1/8 times 0 is 0. 0 times 9 over 7 is 0. So 0 products is A over B times 0 will give you 0. Or 0 times A over B will give you 0. So any number multiplied by 0 will give you a 0. 0 divided by a fraction. So if you take 0 and divide it by A over B, you will get 0. 0 divided by 1/4 is 0. 0 divided by 3 over 2 is 0. Let's check dividing a fraction by 0. We said division by 0 is a no-no. So 4 over 11. So if you take A over B and divide it by 0, we say it's undefined. You can't do it. Division by 0 is undefined. It's undefined. Does not exist. Cannot do it. It's a no-no. 1/6 divided by 0 is undefined. We can't define it. There's no answer. Let's continue. Well, let's look at the order of operations. So important in math. Parentheses and brackets is what we do first. So this is two ways to do it, PEMDAS or BEDMAS. So that's brackets or exponents. That's first. And the next that we do is we do the exponents. The x for exponents, that's the second. And then we do multiplication, division, or division, multiplication. It makes no difference. This is the third that we do. We do these two next, left to right. So that's the third one, from left to right. And the last is addition and subtraction, from left to right. So we do addition and subtraction. Addition, subtraction, as you go from left to right. I keep stressing the order of operations. So over in A, we have 2/3, and we have to work out the inside of the brackets. So brackets or parentheses, whatever you want to call it, we do the inside first. So 4/5 subtract 4/5 is 0. 0 squared is 0 times 0 is 0. 2/3 subtract 0 is 2/3. B, we have to do, again, every time you think about order of operations, you write down PEMDAS or BEDMAS and you tick it off. Do I have any brackets to work on the inside? Yes. So I have to work on the inside of that one and the inside of the other one. Common denominator for 8 and 4 is 8. So we multiply the first one by 2 over 2. That gives me 3/8 plus 2 over 4. 1 times 2, 4 times 2. 16 is already a common denominator, so we write it down and we get 11 subtract 1 is 10. So we still have to finish this one off right here. So that's 8 is the common denominator, and we get 3 and 2 is 5. Now that we have the two brackets on the inside simplified, we now have to subtract. Common denominator for 8 and 16. 16 is a multiple of 16. 16 is a multiple of 8. So I need to multiply the 8 by 2 to get 16. So we multiply the top by 2. So that gives me 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract 10 over 16. And 16 is my common denominator. 10 minus 10 is 0. 0 divided by 16 is 0. C, BEDMAS, PEMDAS. We do the brackets, inside the brackets first. So notice I'm going to write down everything except, write it all down. I do one step at a time. So 3 over 7, subtract 3 over 7, 0. That's done. Now we have what's left. We have a multiplication, addition, multiplication. So PEMDAS says we do multiplication and division from left to right. So as we go this left to right, we do the multiplication, and leave the subtract addition. Leave the addition alone. Don't touch it. 5 over 6 times 0 is 0. 3/4 times 10 over 5, we have to reduce. So 4 into 2 into 4 goes 2. 2 into 10 goes 5. 5 into 5 goes once. 5 into 25 goes 5. 3 times 1 is 3. And did the 2 cancel out? No. That's 2 times 5 is 10. And 0 subtract, add on 3/10 is 3 over 10. D, we have to do PEMDAS. We have to do the inside the brackets first. So let's do this one and this one. We leave the division to the last. So inside of the first one, we have a subtraction and a multiplication. So we have to do the multiplication first. So 8 over 9, subtract, and when we multiply, we can't cancel. So 4 times 2 is 8, 3 times 3 is 9. That's done. So that gives us 8 over 9 minus 8 over 9 is 0. So we still have to work the inside of this one before we divide. So we're adding, common denominator is 8. 3 plus 2 is 5. So that is a 5 over 8. So 0 divided by 5 over 8, I could go 0 times 8 over 5. But 0 divided by a number is going to be 0. So if the division becomes a multiplication due to reciprocal, I still get a 0. E, I have to work the inside. I have a multiplication here, so I have to work the inside of both of these brackets first, because it says PEMDAS, I do brackets exponents. Brackets or parentheses. So I have to do the inside of these first. There's no exponents here. The only exponent we had was back in B after we did the inside. So we have to work this one out. But 3 subtract 2 is 1. But 1/6 subtract 7/6, we can't do it. We're going to get a negative. And negatives will come up later on in another unit that I'm going to do. So we have to change a 3 to a 2. So let's look at it right here. So that's a 2 plus 1 and 1/6. 3 becomes 2, and the 1 I put with the 1 and 1/6. So the 1 and 1/6 becomes 1 times 6 plus 1, so that becomes 7 over 6. So 2 and 7 over 6 is the same as 3 and 1/6. So if I put down, subtract now, oh, they're the same, so I get a 0 times. When I'm adding these, I need a common denominator. Common denominator for 15 and 10 is 30. So I multiply the first bracket by 3 over 3. 2 over 2, my mistake. 2 over 2. And I multiply the second fraction by, I need a 30, so it's a 3 over 3. So that gives me 8 over 30 plus 9 over 30. When I add that up, I get the common denominator is 30, and I get a 17, 8, 9. 0 times 17 over 30 is 0. And the last one we have here, we have to do the inside of our brackets first. So let's go to work. So we have a division and a subtraction. We'll do the division first. When we divide, we multiply by the reciprocal. That's done. So we have to continue. Division becomes a multiplication. Now, because I'm multiplying and subtracting, I'll multiply first from left to right. I've multiplied here. And I can't cancel, so I get 15 over 28. 5 times 3, 14 times 2, 15 over 28. Done. Multiplication is done. Now I subtract. 10 over 9 divided by 15 over 28. 28 is a common denominator. 15 minus 15 is 0. 10 over 9 divided by 0, divided by 28 is 0. And 10 over 9 divided by 0 is undefined. You can't do it. Okay. Now, same thing again, only this time we have practice. You work these out and press pause and work them out and then press play to see if you got them all right. Here we go. I have to do the inside of the brackets first, so let's obey that. Half, subtract the half is 0. Now I have to do my PEMDAS, or I do the brackets or parentheses first, then I do my exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. So I'll leave. Remember I said I was going to do one step at a time. So I got the inside the brackets done. 0 squared is 0. Now I got a division and a subtraction. So I do the division first. So 7 over 8 times 4 over 7. Because when I'm dividing, I multiply by the reciprocal. The 7s cancel. 1 and 1. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 8 twice. So that's 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Subtract 0. And a half, subtract 0 is a half. Okay, PEMDAS again. Order of operations. You see multiplication, multiplication, subtraction. You see a power or an exponent. So think about it. I always think I do brackets or exponents first. So let's leave this one alone. Leave these two. And let's work the inside of this first. We do the power or exponent after. 2 and 1/2 is 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 over 2, subtract 5 over 2. And write this down. That's a 0. 5 over 2, subtract 5 over 2 is 0. And you might say, I keep writing this down, but I'm obeying the order of operations. Once you get used to what you're doing, then you can shorten it up. I mean, you could look at this and say, yeah, that's a 5 over 2, subtract and get a 0 and a 0 cubed. If you wanted to, you could have went from here to get, in your head, to get 5 over 2, subtract to the same, and then you could have cubed the 0 to get 0. So you could have went from right here, right to here, omitting all of this, if you wanted to. And notice, I don't have to multiply these two, because what? Multiplication by 0 is a 0. So why multiply those two and then multiply by 0? 0 times all of this is a 0. I did not have to cancel here or simplify because I see 0 times this. I see the number 3, 1/2 cubed. Let's do the inside of the brackets. I will multiply these two. Multiplication, I will cancel. 5 into 5 goes once, 5 into 20 goes 4. 7 into 7 goes once, 7 into 14 goes 2. Remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you have to be multiplying. You can cancel anywhere from top to bottom, anywhere from numerator to any denominator, if you're multiplying, not dividing, not adding, not subtracting, only if you're multiplying. 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 2 is 8. So that bracket is done. Now we have to do our exponent, PEMDAS. Exponents next. 1/2 cubed. 1 times 1 times 1, 1. 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 1/8, subtract 1/8, same thing, so we get 0. Number 4, I see a multiplication and a division and an addition. I will do the multiplication and division from left to right. I see 0 over 2. So 0 over 2 is a 0. So that's a 0 times 5 over 6. That becomes simply 0. Now I do my division. And when I divide, we multiply by the reciprocal. 15 over 6. I have to do my multiplication before I add. So when I'm multiplying, I cancel. 3 into 3 goes once, 3 into 6 goes 2. 5 into 10 goes 2, 5 into 15 goes 3. So I got a 0 plus. Got all the cancellation done. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4. 0 plus 3/4 is 3/4. Number 5 looks long, but I got to remember, I got to do my brackets or parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction. This stays drilled in my head. I will do the inside of the brackets first. So write down all the rest of the problem. 2 over 11, subtract 2 over 11 is 0. Done. Now I will do my bracket next. Even though I could multiply this to get 2, I will follow the order and do my exponents. So 3 over 5 squared is 9 over 25. Now I have a multiplication addition. I will multiply. 1/3 times 0 is 0. And now I'll add, and any number added to 0 is 0. Sorry, any number added to 0 is the number. And number 6, I got brackets here. Notice I got a big bracket right here. And I got a smaller bracket on the inside, right? So I work the inside of these brackets first. So in this one, I multiply, so I got to work this one. Let's see what we're going to get. I got 8 divided into 8 goes once, 8 into 16 goes 2. 5 into 10 goes 2, 5 into 15 goes 3. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 2 goes once. So that's 1 over 3. That bracket is done. Now I got a big bracket, so I'm going to work the inside of this. So inside of here I have a exponent and a subtraction and multiplication. According to PEMDAS, I'm working on the inside of bracket, so I do my exponent next. So that's 1/3 squared is 1/9. 1 times 1, 3 times 3. So I do that step first. Now inside of here, write down 1/3, divide. I have to work the inside. I have a subtraction and a multiplication. So I will multiply. Next, 10 into 10 goes once, 10 into 30 goes 3. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 6 goes 3. So that gives me 1 over 9. 1 times 1, 3 times 3. Now I do my brackets, continue with the brackets. 1/9 minus 1/9 is 0. And guess what? 1/3 divided by 0 is a no-no. It's undefined, does not exist, cannot do it. Division by 0 is a no-no. You cannot divide by 0. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video on the zero property. Again, dividing by 0 is a no-no. Multiplication by 0 gives you 0. If you like, click on my like buttons. If you like my video, the subscribe button, the notification bell. And if you want, write a comment on my video. And to end it all, visit my website, mathfullyexplained.com. You find information about me, which is my degrees and experience in teaching math. And there's a section on teaching strategies used in the videos. A section on content on my YouTube channel, which has the topics. It tells you about the number of videos on each topic. And the topics completed are in black font. The ones I already got done and online. And in red font, there's topics to be completed in the future. I thank you very much for viewing my video. Bye-bye.